Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 discussion type video, guys. There has been even more news kind of leaked or kind of brought out into attention, guys, regarding Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. But from what I think, if they do another Xenoverse game, I do not think it'll be for quite some time, guys. I mean, think of things in this scope. Fighters is still doing good, and it's still making its run. I don't think there is very good odds of an Xenoverse 3 game releasing at the end of this year. Odds are that's not going to happen. But I mean, it could. It could be potential. It could happen. Bandai Namco is still supporting Xenoverse 2. That's what makes me think that the game might still be in development. And if anything, not even close to being released. Because the game... it's not being supported on or played because Xenoverse 2 is still being updated and worked on. They would not put as many assets into Xenoverse 2, instead focus on the development of Xenoverse 3. But again, who knows? I don't think they expected all of the people to jump from Xenoverse 2 straight into Fighters, which is good because I think they understand there is different people who like the 2D platforming side and the 3D platforming like in Xenoverse 2, which is good, and I'm glad that they're able to do that. But that leads me to believe that the studio who would be making the Xenoverse 3 game more than likely are just focusing on updating Xenoverse 2 and not really doing much. Odds are, if we were to have a Dragon Ball game to come out, it would be something like E3 or something like that would be released. And those things, I think, are still on the way, or a couple of those events could still be on the way. I think there's one in specific where a lot of Japanese games are showcased. I'm not sure what it's called, guys. I can't remember, but a lot of the Dragon Ball stuff is released during then, and I think that still can happen this year. But if it doesn't show anything during that, then I don't think there would be an Xenoverse 3, just from speculation. And they've already had a Dragon Ball game kind of released this year. I mean, Fighters released first quarter, and then to have Xenoverse 3 come out, it kind of would fit because the entire DLC season for Fighters will be over by that time, so you could slide in Xenoverse 3 by that time. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. I think that more than likely will happen. More than likely won't happen with the game sliding in after that. It definitely could work, because Xenoverse, is another Xenoverse game might be due by that time, because Fighters Z is going to be completely, done for. It's going to have all its DLC out, and odds are they're just going to be doing minor updates, kind of like what Xenoverse 2 is going at right now. Some minor updates here and there, and just some different things to help with the game mechanics. But overall, I mean, Xenoverse 2 is, for the most part, done up all of its game. There's not much else left, guys. And that leads me on to talk about what exactly we might expect for Xenoverse 3. I know one thing is that I'm kind of getting tired of... I know for sure for Xenoverse 1 to 2, I didn't like having to do all the same parallel quests over again. They literally just leaked over and just brought over all the parallel quests from Xenoverse 1 and put them in Xenoverse 2. But they just expanded upon it, so they added in some different ones because there were some different story aspects. So they added, the future, Trunks arcs and a couple different arcs that they didn't have in Xenoverse 1, but they showed off in Xenoverse 2. They just added in some new arcs and stuff like that. But they still went over the same things. The same parallel quests are in the game. They just added, I think they added like maybe 50 more, something like that, which is still a lot and really good. And they definitely expanded upon the characters. There's a lot more characters in this game, especially with the other DLCs and everything. It's really nice, and I'm happy they did that. And they added different stages and stuff like that with those character packs, which I think is good. You're getting more than just characters. It's really nice, except for the first DLC. I do not believe that had any stages or anything like that. I think it was just 2 characters. I'm pretty sure that was it. I definitely would argue that the DLC is better in Xenoverse 2 than it is in Fighters, because in Fighters you really don't unlock anything but characters, and that's it. You get characters and like some avatars, things like that. Which is something I think they should learn from and expand on in Xenoverse 3. That character DLC is just not enough. Stages and stuff like that is good, but they need to figure out a different kind of system to have more than just characters and just different places to battle, which is going to be difficult because that's literally all you do in the games. But I think they could find some different way. I think the Coliseum was a good touch and something cool and new to add into the game. They already had success from Dragon Ball Heroes, which is basically a game in Japan that's similar to the Coliseum mode that you see in XENOVERSE 2. If you guys didn't know, the Coliseum mode is like a free mode that they added into XENOVERSE 2, where you kind of get these small, like, little character models, and you play as those in this Coliseum type story arc within the game, which is cool, and I'm glad they expanded upon the game. It's not just a fighter anymore, it's like a chess kind of game you can play as a bonus side mode, which is something that I think the XENOVERSE games were lacking. It was just story, fighting, this and that. And obviously the character creation. In XENOVERSE 3, we need better character creation. The character creation in XENOVERSE 2 compared to 1 is a lot better. But for the, you know, if you're going to have some different races in the game, at least flesh them out and make them even. Because in the Super Saiyan race, or just the Saiyans, you get so many different forms. You get Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, the Super Vegeta form, the future Super Saiyan, a bunch of different stuff like that. And in the Frieza, you get just Golden Frieza and a couple other things. We couldn't have multiple Frieza forms or different looking Buu characters. I mean, the character literally changes into just the Kid Buu model. That's all it does, which is really lame and just not very fun. And the Namek one is strange as well. I definitely think they should do like some kind of fusion with another Namek or something like that. Some more in-depth creation with that. And the story too. Our characters are just kind of thrown in. Our created characters are just kind of there. And they don't have much of a backstory. I think if they added in a backstory, more things to do with players. They need an experience where I can jump into the game, play things with my friends, battle with my friends, but also do different side modes. If I have a created character, I want to get in depth with that character. I think if they added some cool MMO type of styles into the game, they'd do so much more successful. At the end of the day, me and my friends would have our characters and everything else like that, and we tried doing expert missions. The lobbies were bad. We needed people to find to help with us, and whenever we were in lobbies together, there really wasn't much to do other than just fight. Of course, the Coliseum mode and a couple other things added things in later, but right off the bat, the game wasn't very great for co-op play. It definitely just seemed like a single-player game, and that wasn't really good, especially when the selling points was battling along with your friends and things like that. That really sold it for me to get XENOVERSE 2. And it's something that if they're going to want to try to bring people in for, if they put that in XENOVERSE 3 and do it effectively with the created characters, that would be beautiful. Absolutely amazing. We don't have news on that, of course. And we don't even have news that XENOVERSE 3 is going to be real. Who knows? I'd imagine they would. There has been news and speculations and talk from like different Twitter accounts, different things like that. Obviously, they're not 100% credible sources because, you know, Bandai Namco hasn't said anything. You know, no voice acting work. People have accidentally leaked out that they've been, you know, working on the Dragon Ball game or anything like that. And I don't think we should be as greedy. You know, Fighters isn't done yet. We still have Fighters left. It is done by different people, which could very well make XENOVERSE 3 come out sooner than we would think, because they're able to work on it. It's a different, you know, group of people working on it. So it's not like their energy is being used to make Fighters. It's a completely different company, which is good. That helps us, you know, understand that there's different people working on the game. Okay. Oh, Jesus. I thought I was gonna die there for a second ago. I'm trying to record this and talk at the same time. I'm gonna give you guys some, you know, topics and things to talk about during these videos. I'm trying to make them not as boring. Try to get to that Super Saiyan God. But yeah, I'm ready for a new XENOVERSE game. I think they really could clean it up and make it better. I think with all those things I said, they could do it. Fix the DLCs, fix the co-op player, and fix the created characters. I think after that, they really have a solid game. And I know that the game has been rumored to be just a Dragon Ball game, not an actual Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super game. It has been speculated that it's going to be just a saga we haven't been in before, which is good, and I do want that. But that scares me because I don't know if they're going to include as much content in the game that way. Because if they go over some certain arcs that are smaller, they won't have as many characters. Because the thing about Xenoverse 2 is they have so many characters and so many different arcs and things to pick from. I don't want them to just take all of this stuff from this game, put it in Xenoverse 3, and just expand upon it, you know, just a little bit. That would be really bad, and would show that they're being kind of lazy. That they really are not working on another full-fledged game. They're kind of just adding on to the previous one, which is what the same creators did in the past with Budokai. Budokai 1, 2, and 3, they just added upon the current roster, changed up the story mode a little bit, added a bonus mode. That's basically all they did. And, you know, it worked for 3 games. We have another game coming out, but the 3rd game always ends up killing it, and then people don't want any more. So, it's a weird place, guys, but I think if they really did focus on those elements, the co-op gameplay, character creation needs to be a little bit better, more in-depth, more story, more MMO aspects. I know this game is a fighter, but really think about it, with how you run around and do all this stuff, it's an MMO type of aspect, which is okay and good, because you can do that MMO/fighting, and it works out. You don't have to do the MMO stuff, but I think Xenoverse 3 has a big selling point on that created character and adding different aspects to that created character. You want to feel attached to your character. A mute character like we have, it just doesn't cut out as well, and I really don't like it. It's kind of like playing Pokemon. You have more love for your Pokemon in the games, not necessarily your character, because your character is silent and isn't doing anything, which a lot of silent protagonists do well, like Zelda and other things like that. But with Zelda, you're supposed to be yourself. You're playing for yourself, so it's different. But that overall explains what I think. So please like, comment, subscribe for more content, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.